Ladies and gentlemen, strap yourselves in. It's officially deadline day. How's it going, everyone? I'm Wayne. Welcome back to another video on the Wayne's World channel. I appreciate you for clicking on the button. Welcome back. Let's talk about deadline day. We've got a lot to cover in the world of Arsenal. And before we get started, I just want to say a big thanks to all the new subscribers recently. We are close to hitting that target of 50 subscribers. If you know a guy that knows a guy, or if you know a girl that knows a girl, feel free to invite them into Wayne's World. Everyone's welcome here. We're going to be doing some Football Manager content, some video game content over the course of the next few weeks and months, and as well, talking about Arsenal weekly. So feel free to hit that subscribe button down below. If you're enjoying the content, as always, feel free to hit that like as well. Let's get into the ups and downs of deadline day for the Arsenal. Now, in just the last 24 hours, we've seen Willian leave the club. He's given up the remainder of his contract and joined Corinthians over in Brazil. Now, while I don't necessarily respect the move from Arsenal to sign him in the first place, I thought it was a bad deal. Even on a free, we were never going to get value for money, especially on that wage. I do definitely respect him for giving up that contract, even though it's probably a little bit of PR from his agent and from him to make him look like the little bit of a hero. But I'm glad he's left. It's for the best. Hopefully he finds happiness over in Brazil, and fingers crossed he can find some form and potentially get into that Brazil World Cup squad. We know that the coach for the Brazil national team tends to enjoy, you know, selecting players from the Brazilian league for some reason, rather than some of the good Europeans they've got over here. So best of luck to Willian. Thank you for leaving. Thanks for the 3 assists versus Fulham. We've also seen updates on Reece Nelson, who's leaving on loan to join Feyenoord over in Holland. It's a step down from his previous loan, where obviously he went over to Germany and joined Hoffenheim for a season. But he has signed what seems to be a 1-year extension with the club. So that's a positive. Any followers of my Twitter, link down in the description below, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of Reece Nelson. So fingers crossed he can showcase some of that talent over in Holland. And you never know, come back. We still have some question marks in the wing positions. I like Reece Nelson. He played well under Arteta a few times. And hopefully, by the time he comes back, he'll be coming back under a new coach. So those 2 deals are pretty much done. All confirmed, the Willian one, especially over on Arsenal side. Reece Nelson, I expect, will come soon. Let's get into what we can potentially see happening on deadline day in and out of the club for Arsenal. Now, the main one, in my opinion, is Hector Bellerin. All indications at the minute is he is heading out on loan to join Real Betis in Spain, which is a nice little story for him. His family, I think, are Betis fans. His dad, he's mentioned before, was a Betis fan, or is still a Betis fan. And while Bellerin kind of grew up and progressed at Arsenal, it's definitely the right time for a change. Since his ACL injury, he definitely has sort of physically declined. He's not as fast as he was, and defensively he's looked suspect for the past sort of 12 to 18 months or so. He got by on recovery pace alone a lot of times before his injury. So positionally, he's not been up to scratch. So I think while he's probably become a bit stale and a bit stagnant, it's the right time for him to leave. It's sad that he's willing to take a pay cut to get out of the mess that we do call this football club. But I'm happy for him. I hope he does well over in Spain. But he definitely seems to be heading out the door. Another one we may see leave is Nketiah. There's been interest from Crystal Palace, but now they seem to have agreed a fee with Celtic for their striker, Edouard. It looks like Crystal Palace have finally got their centre forward, and it doesn't look like it's Nketiah. Will we see some of the interest from someone like Brighton or a West Ham, something like that? Will they come in for Nketiah? He obviously only has 1 year left on his deal, so it would be ideal if we can get some money for him this summer, because next summer, obviously, he'll be leaving as a free agent. As all indications stand at the minute, I don't think he'll be signing a new deal. Things can change, but I doubt it. Just a disappointing saga for another one of our youngsters. And talking of youngsters, the big and more embarrassing news over this weekend was obviously Ainsley MaitlandNiles. Now, if you haven't seen already, Maitland-Niles was quite loud, let's say, in his displeasure at the club, releasing an Instagram post saying that he just wants to be at a club where he basically is wanted. And considering he's from Hayland, one of our own youth, it's disappointing to see the club behaving that way to a player, making them feel like they're not wanted, making them feel like they're not part of the future. Now, I completely agree with the club in terms of any discipline heading his way, whether it's a fine, whether it's keeping him out of training for a certain period of time. Reason being, I appreciate you want to move Ainsley, but at the end of the day, you can't be that unprofessional. And it seems as though that's maybe come off the advice of agent. We've had issues with his agent before. Think back to Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain before his move to Liverpool. Just as a player, you can't do that. You simply can't do that. And while I'm sure we're happy to let him go, Everton can't just come in with a loan for an option for Maitland-Niles, because next year we'll be in the same position again if they choose not to take up that option. We're not a charity. This isn't Charity FC. We have to do what's best for the club. If Everton want to put up the money, I'm sure we'll happily accept, as long as the offer isn't disrespectful. If they want to offer an obligation, I'm sure we'll be happy to accept that as well. Again, as long as the money isn't disrespectful. But I do feel for Maitland-Niles, he's been on the fringes for quite a while. He wants to leave. It wouldn't surprise me if we want him to leave. It's probably best all round that he gets sort of a fresh start and is allowed to continue with his football, because at times he showed promise with us. But again, with Arsenal, poor mistakes in terms of the transfer market have come back to bite us. You may remember last year, Wolves were heavily interested in Maitland-Niles. They offered around about 15 to 20 million for him. So we should have accepted that. Same for Hector. PSG came in with an offer of around about 20 to 25. Hindsight and all that, but we should have accepted that. There was no need to keep both of them at least last summer. We should have cashed in on one. Maitland-Niles has become sort of stagnant now. Went on loan to West Brom. They got relegated, so obviously couldn't afford to keep him. It's just been poorly ran, and the way that this transfer window has gone, fair enough, we've spent a lot of money, but we've not really improved the first 11. Edu and Arteta have a lot of questions to answer to, man. Edu in particular, I don't really know what he does at the club. So fingers crossed, once the deadline is closed, there needs to be some sort of internal process of, what are you doing, Edu? Like, you can't get fees, the big fees for young homegrown players when you've got the likes of Dan James going for 30 million. Obviously, we got Willock sold for 25 million, which was great. But the problem with that is we probably could have got more if there were more clubs interested. Only Newcastle were interested, so we had to end up accepting what is some consider a low fee for him. I think it's a good deal because I don't think he necessarily fits into the club. But I guess we'll see in the future. If he turns out to be a 50 million player, then we've shot ourselves in the foot just accepting him for 25 mil. Everything playing out on social media the way it was has just been incredibly embarrassing for the club. So again, there needs to be some sort of investigation as to why this was allowed. And hopefully Ainsley MaitlandNiles does leave, because no one wants an unhappy player playing for their club. So Nketiah, Maitland-Niles, Bellerin, we could potentially see them going. We could see late moves for the likes of Kolasinac, maybe El Neni. That's less so. Both of them have got interest coming from Turkey. But the Turkish transfer window, their deadline day doesn't close until next week, I believe it is. I think it's the 7th of September. Although it would be a little bit stupid for us, for El Neni in particular, to let him go and not have a midfielder all sorted out. But the fun part, incomings. Who can we potentially see coming into the club? The journalistic god that is David Ornstein reported this morning that Arsenal are close to agreeing a deal with Bologna for their right back, Tomiyasu. The Japanese right back had interest from Tottenham earlier on in the summer, and Arsenal added on to that a little bit later. So that could be someone we come in. But in my mind, it wouldn't surprise me if that deal got cancelled last minute for some sort of medical issue. We all remember what happened with Thomas Lemar, that failed 92 million bid in, I think it was 2017. So it really wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal humiliate us again in some way. I'd like to see us sign an attacker, but I just don't think that's going to happen at all. Unfortunately, Lacazette's still going to be here, and I think it's been announced that, you know, he'll leave on a free contract, which, again, is disappointing, but it is what it is. Aubameyang's not going anywhere. I think he's here to stay for the season. Club captain, fingers crossed he can get back in goal form. But with both of them two staying, I think in the attacking sense, the best we can hope for is a loan for Balogun. I don't think keeping him with regards to his development is the smartest decision. We've got Aubameyang. We've got Lacazette, we've got Martinelli, we might potentially have Nketiah as well at the club. Balogun needs a loan. Let him play first team football as soon as possible. Otherwise, it's just going to be another one of these youngsters that we just make stale and don't, you know, improve at the rate that they should. And finally, and most importantly, midfield. We have to improve the midfield in one form or another, even if it's just from a numbers sense. And then he's going to African Cup of Nations if he stays in January. Thomas Partey, our best midfielder, African Cup of Nations in January if he stays. We already see, once Thomas Partey is injured, we're down to Lokonga, who's a great prospect, and I hope he starts the Norwich game after the international break. And then we've got Granit Xhaka, who, just in my opinion, isn't good enough for serious Premier League teams. So midfield should be a position that hopefully we can address on deadline day, whether it's the likes of Aouar for more creativity, and it means we don't have to rely on Smith Rowe. I would prefer a deeper midfielder. The likes of Basuma have been linked, although I don't see that happening at this stage of deadline day, which will be really disappointing. The likes of Bruno at Lyon, he's another one. Fingers crossed that we'll be able to get a deep line midfielder potentially as part of this deadline day bonanza. And you never know. We've got a history in the past. Thomas Partey signed on deadline day. Everyone remembers Mesut Ozil signing on deadline day. Let's try and get a surprise or two, man. Like, the mood around the club right now is just so low. The morale of the fans is minimal. No one has any sort of faith or belief, not even outside of the fan base. In the fan base, everyone's kind of fed up with the season already. It's been 3 games. Our highlight is a 6-0 win over West Brom's under-23s. Give us something to cheer about today, Arsenal. Please. It doesn't have to be to the extent of a Mesut Ozil signing from Real Madrid, although I'd love to sign a world-class player for that high fee today, but I just don't see it happening. But just give us something to believe in, please. Even if it's sacking Arteta, we believe in that. Please, just give us something to cheer about today, Arsenal. I'm begging you. So that just about wraps up today's video covering what I think might or might not happen in transfer deadline day. I'll be back with another one tomorrow to confirm all of the ins and outs after the deadline has closed. Once again, if you are new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 50 subscribers, so come into Wayne's World. I will greatly appreciate it. And if you are enjoying the content, as usual, feel free to hit that like button. Also, come over, join me on Twitter, follow me over on Twitch. Both of the links are in the description down below. I'm currently streaming a Football Manager save where Arsenal, we're close to winning the Champions League. So if you want to see Arsenal win the Champions League in your lifetime, come over to the Twitch and help support the club in that journey. Enjoy transfer deadline day. I'll see you again for another one tomorrow.